Yeah, you made it lock in. Court lights flicker, I'm feeling that tip-off fever. NBA dreams spin tight like a crossover sleeper. 4th and inches in the cold, crowd breathing like smoke. NFL grit in my voice when the pressure get woke. Engine scream through the night, that F1 razor. Lines cut clean, turn sharp like a hometown savior. NASCAR drift in my blood when the pace gets wild. I talk speed like a veteran, move calm like a smile. Legends born out of sweat, out of heartbreaks echo. I break plays down smooth, call the game like a maestro. Every lane that we touch, every story we show, this is where the truth runs. The NotBland Show. Fast, race, whole crowd froze. Big drives, deep shots, watch the moment explode. Every angle hit heavy with a champion's glow. Step into the kingdom, the NotBland Show.
Lock in.
You made it. Now let's lock into the NotBland Show. I'm your host, and welcome to 2026, ladies and gentlemen. It's going to be a fun year. A lot of great things going on around the sports world. We got football going into the playoffs. We have college football playoffs. We got Black Monday, Black Tuesday, with people getting fired within the NFL. Look, it's going to be a wild offseason, and it's going to be a great new season for drag racing. A lot of things going on there as well. I want to thank you guys for tuning in to this show. As we get started, everybody knows who we need to thank, and you need to go ahead right now. Go ahead and share, like. If you haven't subscribed already, please do so. You don't want to miss a lot of this stuff that we've got coming up here in 2026. We're going to get to it really quickly, and I want to thank everybody who's tuned in. I see Fred Warner's there, my camera guy, your camera guy, everybody's camera guy, and we got Lonnie in the building as well. Glad to see you guys here for 2026, and it's going to be fun. It's going to be a lot of fun, man, a lot of fun, and we got to thank our sponsor, Drag Race Bracket Bonanza. It's going to be time before you know it. So you might as well, if you haven't got involved and haven't got signed in, go ahead and do that. Because if you wait, you'll forget. And then the next thing you know, it'll be Gainesville and we'll be talking about it and you'll be scrambling. So just go ahead, get involved. And we're going to show you how you can do that with this commercial break. And when we come back, we'll jump right into some NFL headlines.
Drag racing fans, check out Drag Race Bracket Bonanza. It's the free, family-friendly fantasy bracket game. Now, after final qualifying at every national event, you can fill out your bracket for all the pro classes.
It's free, easy to click on your picks. If you need some help, just hit the randomizer button to fill in the blanks. It's for fun, stay engaged, and pick your winners today.
I knew I was going to get it. Yeah, man. We had to get rid of it. I needed a break. My face needed a break. And I wanted to show you guys that I'm not as old as I look with that beard, by the way. Like, I may be 45, but you know what they say. Black does not crack unless you're on crack. I see Randy Johnson in the comments as well. How you doing, Randy? Yep, had to get rid of it. So here we are. Looking like I'm 30. It's nice. Well, ladies and gentlemen, as we always know, Monday after your last week of the NFL season comes hirings, or shall I say firings and more parting of ways. Wow. I'll start right at the top here. There was rumblings of this happening with the Baltimore Ravens. Many and myself often wondered if the voice in the room was becoming a little bit stale. I don't think this is all John Harbaugh's fault. We're not going to give Todd Monken any kind of, heat for some of his questionable play calling during the year. Are we not going to give general managers their due by not getting them a true number one wide receiver alongside Zay Flowers. Look, there's so many things to go around here, and he's out after 18 seasons. He's 180 and 113. He's 13 and 11 postseason. He has one Super Bowl, and for what it's worth, the man's done a great job in Baltimore. And as they say, all good things come to an end. And so he is your top candidate. I think it's him and Kevin Stefanski, and I'll explain why. Some of you may frown your face up about that one, but I'll tell you why in a minute. But he's the top candidate. And if I'm the Atlanta Falcons, I'm on the phone with him hours ago. He should be either on a flight to Atlanta or already booked to be coming to Atlanta ASAP. I think that is a very good job for any head coach. A lot of pieces there. And I also believe that not too far from that is the Giants and Cardinals, believe it or not. I think you have to solve a quarterback issue, but your top two, I think, are your Falcons and Giants. But he is no longer there. Pete Carroll, he's out after one season. 3-14 was his record. Look, I don't know what they expected. You don't have anything in Oakland except for your new running back in Ashanti and Brock Bowers. That's it. They tried to bring in Geno Smith to kind of stabilize things as they, in this upcoming season, would likely make moves to bolster, especially the offense and most definitely that porous Swiss cheese of an offensive line that they have there in Oakland. But here we are on another coaching change and another year where they'll be set back for another 3 to 5 years. And I don't know if it was a good idea to fire him after one season, given the fact that this thing is a smoldering dumpster fire, or is it bad on the owner that you decided to hire him in the first place instead of getting one of your best offensive candidates that were available last season? That's on you. So I don't think it's on Pete Carroll. This thing was a smoldering dumpster fire before he ever even got there. Yeah, what you gonna do? What you gonna do? Here we are also with the Cleveland Browns, and they released Kevin Stefanski. And I know what everybody will say. He did. He mismanaged this quarterback situation here between Dylan Gabriel and Shedeur Sanders. My problem is that ownership had a lot to do with two quarterbacks being selected. And I believe Kevin was handcuffed by ownership because, see, believe it or not, the Cleveland Browns ownership does not like to be called dysfunctional. Yet the record and the things that they've done, like giving Deshaun Watson an entire bank load full of money to do nothing when he really hadn't shown that he was worth that, that's not going to fall on them. You got to have somebody have a scapegoat, right? So it's Kevin. I think it's probably a mutual thing. I'm sure he's tired because I don't think he has full control of this football team. But what is baffling to me is that how can you as a general manager, Mr. Andrew Berry, how do you get absolved of wrongdoing? I mean, you had a lot to do with building this roster, my man. The poorest offensive line that you have, quarterback situation that you're in, that's definitely not on Kevin Stefanski. That's not his job. Yet, this man is still going to be on the property. That tells you all you need to know about the Cleveland Browns situation. If they get a coach worth anything, I'll be very surprised. Because this is a job that I would not touch with a 10-foot pole. I wouldn't touch it with your pole. Pause. this is not a good job. And maybe somebody will, because you know what? They're going to back up a Brinks truck and pay the man that they put in charge. But I'm thinking they want to look for more of a yes man and not of a man who comes in and is in charge and can control the room. We'll see. But this is not a good job. Good luck. You're going to need it. Titans got rid of Brian Callahan early in the season, 4-18. It was a bad hire. I mean, let's just be real. It was a bad hire. And it was a situation that you either have to believe you're in a rebuild or be in denial. And some people are just in denial that they're in a full-on rebuild and choose not to do it. Choose not to fess up to the fact that this is a rebuild. And if you're going to do that, then you need to have a really good coach to kind of fortify that, right? You kind of have to have that. If you don't, and you don't have that coach and GM, it's what you got here. And fortunate enough, they're smart enough to get off of it and not waste Cam Ward's younger years, who I think is a quarterback that can develop very well. Falcons let go of Raheem Morris. Not surprised. You've heard it on this show. You've heard me speak it on other shows. He's not head coach material, period. And some people aren't. He had a shot before. I gave him a pass on that. Did not feel that they really vested in him. I think they did do a good job of vesting in him and what they were doing, and you produced 2 8-9 seasons. Do you know that the Atlanta Falcons are 13-4? I got this stat from my cousin here. 13-4 over the last 8 seasons when they're eliminated from the playoffs. 13-4 when it don't matter over the last 8 seasons. Yeah, great job though. A lot of pieces here. They did a great job drafting last year, I felt, even though they did let go of Terry Fontenot. I do understand that deal there because when you let go of a coach and that GM came in together, it's usually of smarts to let go of both. Because when you hire a coach, 9 times out of 10, that coach probably wants to pick his own GM or at least have some say in it. And those two guys need to come in together as a marriage. You know what I mean? You come in together, you leave together, if that's what it is. And thought that was smart. Definitely a lot more brains over there in Atlanta than there is in Cleveland. The Giants let go of Brian Daboll. Everybody knew that. It was earlier in the season there. He was pretty much 45-56 as a coach. But here's my problem with the Giants gig. A lot of pieces to work with. They are going to have to rebuild that offensive line, invest in that if they want to protect their young quarterback, who I believe is a steal in the draft, although they did draft him too high. They did not need to come back in the first round to get this man. They would have gotten him in the second round. Nobody was looking at him as far as drafting a quarterback anywhere else on that lower part of the draft last year. But Joe Shane has no business being GM and then have the nerve to pick the coach. Look, he can tout himself on picking Jackson Dart, but you're the same cocky idiot that let go of Saquon Barkley and made Daniel Jones look like complete and utter poop, because that's not the game plan and that's not how he functions at his best. Ask the Colts, who have a running game, who took the same playbook that you guys had right over there with the interim head coach that you had here and had success. So it really says a lot about the Giants organization at the top too. If you know me, I'm not a fan of the Mara family. I think sometimes you can't get out of your own way. I don't think Joe should even have his job. I don't give a crap about the little Malik Neighbors and Jackson Dart. I don't give a crap. Your record is average. You've been to one playoff game. You're 22-55-1. You were 4-13 this year. You mean to tell me your head coach goes, but you don't? Because I don't see any greatness in what you've done over there at all. period. So it is a great job, though, guys. It is a great job. But if I'm the head coach that comes in here, I'm going to make sure that Joe Shea knows who's in charge. Period. Because you don't, you'll be the next one getting the axe. Man, the Cardinals, Jonathan Gannon, bad hire. I don't need to say any more about that. 15-36. He had 14 losses in the last 14 losses in the last 15 games. And this team has pieces because they were fighting in a lot of games that really I think a lot of people didn't think they were going to even be in. And I actually used the Cardinals as a barometer when it came down to defenses that were missing some pieces at times and still able to be respectable. Just, at times their offense just wasn't producing. And that hurts the defense badly. And then we've got the Dolphins who got rid of their GM, kept the coach. I don't dislike that. I think there's some things that need to be moved around. I think Tua is going to be moved. I think that relationship is soured. And, they do need a quarterback, though. And I'm not talking about drafting one. But they're going to be so handicapped and so handcuffed with money that I think, what his name, the quarterback there in Green Bay, the backup, I think that's the guy you need to get. I really do. I think that would be a good fit. He's low budget. Yeah, John is out, man. Yeah, we spoke about that a little bit earlier, but yeah, I'm a little surprised at it because at the same time, I'm like, who you going to get? I mean, you could, I guess, go get Kevin Stefanski, I guess. But there's nobody else on that coaching list that really jumps out and says that's a guy that I want leading my team. But I also understand that all good things do come to an end. Everybody knows, those things happen. Ask Bill Belichick, but I don't think he's all the problem there. They're missing a lot of pieces that they just refuse to not go out and get. And namely, on the offensive side of the ball, a true number one wide receiver. That has been a Achilles heel for that football team. Your Washington Commanders get rid or part ways with Cliff Kingsbury. And, of course, everybody in their mamas knew that Joe Witt Jr. was getting his pink slip. Dan Quinn was very nice. If it was me, he'd have got his pink slip when I demoted him. Because I really don't have any use for you after that. I don't care what anybody says. You did a piss poor job. Bye. And sometimes, like I said before, sometimes a coach has got to be a butthole in the room. And I respect Dan Quinn and his loyalty, but loyalty will get your behind fired. Just know it. Cliff, I'm not surprised. Cliff wants to be a head coach. That's just the bottom line. Did he have a good season this season? Yeah. Do you throw in the injuries a little bit? Yeah. What he had to work with, he did a good job, I guess. My problem with Cliff Kingsbury is what I felt with Kyle Shanahan early in his head coaching career, even as an offensive coordinator. Some of the time, your game plan just doesn't make sense. Like, what are you setting up? You'll run, when you see guys fake run pass options and the quarterback darts off, even though he's handing the ball off, and you see him do that 2 or 3 times. Well, guess what's going to happen next when I see that everybody's flowing in that direction to stop the run? My quarterback's going to keep it. He's going to get 15. But no, you won't do that. You'll go run some dumb end around, or you'll throw a wide receiver screen that everybody's looking right downhill and can see that you're going to throw a wide receiver screen. And your guys on the outside can't block very well because you're using 3rd, 4th practice squad guys as wide receivers. So those are the things I have a problem with Cliff Kingsbury. Although Cliff, everybody likes this guy, and like I tweeted earlier, I don't care and don't give a crap about anything a player has to say about their feelings about this man and why they wanted him to stay. Nobody is worthy of keeping their job outside of Jaden Daniels. All the rest of you was stinking up the joint week after week. Can't tackle. Can't seem to stay in your assignment and do just your job. Get caught looking in the backfield instead of playing your assignment and letting explosive plays go over your head when you're the guy that's supposed to be the deepest guy of the deepest guy. So I don't care about your feelings. You'll be lucky to have a job here. There's 30 contracts that Adam Peters has to worry about and see who's going to be retained for another year or long term and who's going up out of here. There ain't too many on that 30 contracts that need to be filled that I'm keeping. Because half of you were holding the spot and collecting a check and doing very minimal work. So bump your feelings. You can miss me with that. Let's check the comment section here. Blake, doing great, man. Happy to come back and have another year. Gonna be cool. And we're going to keep rolling with this thing. Mac1320 says, Michigan is getting a whole bunch of new coaches too, I saw. Yes. Have to. They've got to get it right too, though. Maybe. But it's going to be gone for a while. So you guys are going to have to get used to it. You just haven't seen it in a couple of years. That's all. Drag Race Mayhem says, I find it funny, however, Lamar plays bad. It's the team's fault. But when Jalen Hurts does, he's the worst quarterback in the league. Yeah, I don't understand, folks. So people have something against Jalen Hurts, and I don't really. Do I understand where his limitations are? Yes, I do know what you need to do to kind of box him in a little bit. But there are times that you box him in and he still can rise to the occasion. But really, the onus doesn't fall on Jalen Hurts there with Philadelphia. It's the coordinators, including your head coach, who I don't believe in. So that's where the problem lies. The venom is very misdirected. Very misdirected. Yeah, I know. Nobody. Yeah, you don't want to go back to that. A great quality backup is one thing. There's two things in this league that are struggling, and it's the reason why I say you need a league like the UFL for development. Because really, in this day and time, there's no NFL Europe. So that's where a lot of these guys would go in the offseason to get developed. Now, a lot of these people are drafted and kept and played or put on practice squad. There's really no time to develop because it's I want my cake and I want it now type of league. They want results ASAP. There's very little about trying to develop a guy. And some guys who may not have made the cut have all the intangibles, just need to be seasoned a little bit. And that's why you need these leagues for quality backups, because quality backups are very important. I've said it time and time again. The teams who don't have quality backups, when their starter goes down, it is absolutely closed curtains. You got nothing after your starter, and that is not a great place to be. That's where these guys need to develop in backups, and then you got to have backup or quality O linemen that can come in and fill in, because it's inevitable when a guy's going to get dinged up or nicked up. Just how it is. Just one of those things when you're talking about football. What's up, Larry? Welcome to 2026. Yes, we are looking to do greater, bigger, and better things in 26. I appreciate that. Grace Mayhem says, because our generation is addicted to fantasy football, and it's a player doesn't get. You're right, 100%. He said after this past weekend, we don't believe in him either. what he did this weekend, we should be, it should be fireworthy. We could have had 2 home games. I agree. I don't understand why you. Well, first of all, let's just say, Washington, why couldn't you just do the right thing? It's about the draft pick, man. You lost 2 spots because you wanted to win. Now you want to win. Not 6 weeks ago, 8 weeks ago. Now you want to win. Now you're 7th. You could have been 5th. But, it's neither here nor there. Nobody cares. Yeah, messing up a good thing. Ridiculous. We're going to get into the NFL playoffs. This is your NFL playoff bracket as we see it. This weekend, you will have these games. You will see the Buffalo Bills take on the Jacksonville Jaguars in Jacksonville. That will be on CBS at 1 p.m. On the 11th. You got NBC, 8 p.m., New England and the Los Angeles Chargers. You have Houston and Pittsburgh, the 12th, 8:15 p.m. on ESPN. You've got the Green Bay Packers on Amazon Prime on the 10th at 8 p.m. That is Saturday, I believe. Los Angeles Rams take on the Carolina Panthers, the best of the worst. Although they are playing really solid football. Record doesn't really display that, but they really are playing really good complementary football over there in Carolina. And San Francisco and the Philadelphia Eagles at 4:30 on the 11th. So those are your games slotted. Those are your times for those games and days. Look, when you look at this whole thing, I'm not going to go into a big breakdown, but I'm going to tell you right out of the gate, when I'm looking at these teams here, I see the Rams in the NFC Championship game. I think they win. I do believe that Seattle is going to be a tough place to play. But it has been shown that you can slow down Sam Darnold and Jackson Smith in Jigma. It can be done. Just don't let them get off and running the football. If you do those things and you play complementary football, they have every ability to win. But it's going to be a good matchup there. I think the Eagles beat San Francisco. Look, man, I think the injuries are just too much for them. I think they will fight on offense. I think defensively, though, it's going to come down to the critical moments. And in those critical moments, especially, in this type of atmosphere, Philly's been there and done that, regardless of how they've looked all season. You have to respect the reigning, defending Super Bowl champions. So I'm going to go with the Eagles here. And I think the Eagles have a really easy ride until it gets to the NFC Championship game. I think Seattle can beat them. I do think the Rams on this second time, they should have beat them the first time. I think they will beat them the second time. There's just too many flaws, and some of it is coaching with Philadelphia. I like what I'm seeing out of Chicago, and I like what I'm seeing out of this young man in Caleb Williams. One thing he's doing is, if you are familiar with Ben Johnson's offense, his offense is all about timing and rhythm. And Caleb, as the season has gone on, has gotten the ball out quicker. And then he's made some spectacular plays. Some of those spectacular plays we saw from Jaden Daniels last year. He's made some really critical ones. And they could have had some games that they could have won in the last seconds, did not. But I do like them, especially going. It doesn't matter for Green Bay where they're going. They play in the frozen tundra. But I'm very interested to see how Green Bay's defense shows up. Because if you can get Caleb off of his spot and frustrate him, it's usually closed curtains. You've got in his head, he's out of sorts, he's forcing the ball, he's getting frustrated when plays don't happen. I think that's your ticket. Offensively, though, I really have questions on where this Green Bay Packers offense is. Just hasn't been consistent enough. Now, I'm sure they'll get some people back and get some pieces back. And we'll see if they can get that whole tight end, quarterback to tight end thing that they had going earlier in the season where they were just using all three of those tight ends and gutting people. It's going to start with what they can do on the ground, though. Because at the end of the day, the Chicago Bears defense is not a juggernaut. They don't. I think your best defense is the Rams, followed by Philly. And there's some distance between Philly and the Rams because I think Philly's rotation has been gutted this offseason. So I think it's anybody's game, but I'm going to go with Caleb Williams just because of the spectacular clutch plays that he's made over the last couple of weeks coming down this stretch here. I would love to say the Chargers are going to win. I don't see it. I just don't. I don't see the offensive line holding up that well in New England. So I think Dre May is playing quite well. They have a balanced attack, playing pretty good complementary football across offense, defense, special teams. So I'm going to go with New England there. I'm taking the Jacksonville Jaguars and Liam Cohen. I believe in Liam Cohen. I understand, that Trevor Lawrence is a big factor in this, but I also think Travis Etienne is also the factor as well. Get those two going, get him a running game, get things going in that running game, and he's played well off of that. Really has stepped up here in the last 3 to 4 games, has Trevor Lawrence. And then we go to this is going to be a headbanger. And at first I said I was going to go with Houston because I do like Houston's defense. But I think the short passing game of Pittsburgh is going to be a problem. But I'm going to tell you how you can beat Pittsburgh's defense, who has been quite well and stout as of late. It's something that people haven't been doing down the stretch. You run at TJ Watt. TJ Watt cannot get through traffic and get to stop your run. Reason why he's stopping the run because you're running away from him. You're usually probably pulling a guard or a tackle. You're running some type of counter or some type of zone, run scheme, and he splits the gap, gets back behind there, and clips your running back right in the backfield. But when you see tape where he's being run at, guards are getting to the second level and pushing him right on out of the way. Because he's not that dude. Great edge rusher, pass rusher, but he is not going to throw anybody. He's not going to throw one of those big uglies out of the way. And I think if you run at him, you have a good shot to win. But believe it or not, I'm taking Aaron Rodgers and the Pittsburgh Steelers in a close one. But they're not going to get much further than that. You'll get your playoff win that you've been asking for from Mike Tomlin. But that's about it. But if they don't find the rhythm that they had against Baltimore, which I think that was a game that they should have lost as well, it's going to be a long night if C.J. Stroud of 2 years ago shows up. It'll be a long night. Well, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to take a break. And when we come back, we're going to talk a little college football before we get into some of our IHRA and NHRA news. Talking Funny Cars with Buddy Hall. We'll be back, I believe, another year. They did some little things over PRI, and I think those things they can be found on the YouTube channel. So, stay locked in with that, man. It's going to be a good one. It's going to be a good one. I think they're really going to branch out here and bring up some people that I think that we've been really overlooking maybe and not maybe thinking about. So I'm looking forward to that. Drag Race Mayhem says, not to mention the game showed how good Kellen Moore is. He really is. Yeah. I mean, you look at what he's done, Kellen Moore, with what he's got. I believe Tyler Shuck is a quarterback, and I was negative on him coming out of the draft after some further evaluation. Also talking with my guy, Lake Lewis Jr., what he saw at the combine, you're seeing that now. And Kellen's done a great job in his second stint as a head coach. Really called some really good games down the stretch, given the talent that they had around them, especially on the offensive side of football. Not having Alvin Kamara in a solid running game. Defense, though, has always been there in New Orleans. And I expect them to turn it around a little bit. I mean, the division's wide open. Tampa don't want to win. Carolina don't really want to win. They sat home and got to the playoffs. They don't really want to win. Atlanta don't really want to win. So, I mean, it's anybody's game. If you draft right, if you pick your free agency right, you might be able to turn that thing around and be a division winner. Might be a division winner. You never know. Never know. Looking at the college football landscape, ladies and gentlemen, we are now down to the final four of this college football playoff. Ole Miss, it really just falls down. I've been asked questions about Georgia and all of that. And look, man, that's what happens when you don't make adjustments at all. When you don't make adjustments, you get beat. And that's what happened. Ole Miss, great quarterback. Got a chance to see him play when he was in D2 ball, playing for Ferris State, the college that us VSU, Valdosta State people really just get sick of seeing. And we were ecstatic when he went to D1 ball and decided that he was going to go to Ole Miss. The kid's for real, man. The kid's for real. And I really like this football team. It's really admirable of what they have done, given that Lane Kiffin bailed on them. The U is very interesting. Great defense. Offense is sparse. They play a good half. They played a better half of football against Ohio State, but I think Ohio State quarterback was overrated, and they just couldn't handle, the U's defense. I will say this though, I'm happy for you Miami fans, and all of that. I know I see it every week after these games of you guys and the talk of the SEC. Look, man, you guys just got to stop listening to talking heads who get paid to talk about crap they don't believe in. Because everybody knew 2 or 3 years ago that the SEC was no longer the powerhouse anymore. They definitely became not the powerhouse after Nick Saban left and you had NIL. Guys can go wherever they want to go. And if they're not playing here and they feel like they should be playing and they're trying to get to the draft, they'll go where they need to go to make that happen. So no, SEC is not the power conference that everybody is, but we knew that years ago. So I understand it kind of rubs you the wrong way, but at the end of the day, this is where the truth runs. Those cats that sit on debate shows get paid to debate something they don't believe in. And I'm sorry, I'm not going to get paid to do a job and then debate on something that I know that's not true. And it hasn't been true for years. But I will tell you this. This is a whole different animal you about ready to face here with this Ole Miss football team. Because they're very physical on both sides of the football. And I think the running aspect of the quarterback, along with them actually having a really solid running game, it's going to give your defense some fits. And your offense can't go MIA for a quarter or a half. They cannot do that. Not with this football team. And if you get past Ole Miss, you're not beating the Indiana Hoosiers. The Indiana Hoosiers play a brand of football that is very old school. They are a physical football team. Did you not see that game that they played in? They, on every level, they were looking to find someone to hit. Defensively, offensively, they were looking to run you over. They were looking for contact. They are physical in every phase of the game. And physicality beats finesse any darn day of the week. And they are a complete football team over there. I don't think Oregon in that finesse game is realized what they're going to get into. Because they showed who Alabama really was when Georgia showed who Alabama really was with an average Ty Simpson at quarterback. And they put their teeth on the curb and stumped on the back of their head and showed everybody that had common sense and wasn't worried about ratings that Alabama had no business finding themselves in this championship game, in this playoff. If BYU got beat in the championship game and had to sit out, the rules apply to a non-Nick Saban Alabama team. But I got Indiana winning it all. But I think if Miami and you guys can get the Beck, the good Beck, like the Georgia good Beck, think there could be a problem. But your offense, too often, you find them coming up missing. They have laws, and you cannot have laws against this football team. And I think it's an inspired football team that has something to prove as well because their coach left. I thought that in the first game that, hey, that emotion will come up. It'll last for a half like all emotions do, and then the real stuff shows up in the second half. Well, they've shown that they're playing 4 quarters of football, and they got an axe to grind every quarter, and they're looking to come out with a W. And I think you got to give Ole Miss the edge because their offense is just better than Miami's. They're more consistent. So I think it's Ole Miss and Indiana for all the marbles, and I'm taking Indiana, the Indiana Hoosiers, to take it all and be your national champions. Well, ladies and gentlemen, we've had some really, really cool news. They just keep coming, right? With the IHRA, NHRA, IHRA buys Heartland Park, Topeka. Man, a great track. One of the staples, I believe, in drag racing. And I'm glad that it is going to be used in some sort of way or fashion with, drag racing. Great stuff there from the IHRA getting that. We heard about Memphis as well. And, Rockingham Speedway, which I find just hilarious. So you're going to have IHRA placards and everything at the Speedway, and you're going to have NHRA stuff and placards and banners at the drag strip. It's funny to me. It's really hilarious. I didn't even think they could do that, really. But The Rock is one of my favorite places of NASCAR. I think you have to talk about, when you talk about NASCAR and those type of races, I think of Bristol. I think of The Rock. I think Charlotte's another short track type deal. Those are my 3 favorites. I think those are, this track it's a shame that it wasn't being used. So I'm excited about this. And I don't think people realize how big the stock car deal is. There is one here in Cordell. I'm probably saying that wrong. The Southerners here, it's pronounced a certain way. I understand that, but I'm a Northerner, so I'm saying Cordell. Um, they have a track there, and it is used quite regularly. Those type of stock car tracks have been kind of fading away a little bit, but the cars are there. And now that they have this series here with IHRA, I think you're going to find that there's plenty of cars available to run this stuff. I think a Five Flag Speedway over there on the Northwest, it's Northwest Florida, Alabama side of things. They have those type of races as well. So looking forward to that, and seeing how it all transpires. It's great, and I think it's, everybody can't do big boy racing in NASCAR, so I think it'll be fun. I think it's something like dirt track racing that I think people really get up for, and I think people will probably flock to it more, because it's kind of got that old school feel of old school NASCAR, not your modern NASCAR. This here from Monday Morning Racer, he's been putting out a lot of good stuff here. You need to check out the thing he shared from Dragzine, I believe, about them bringing back a Oldsmobile, like, Warren Johnson Oldsmobile for a Pro Mod car. Look, I'm all for it. Like, we need more creativity, and we need to have Pro Mod and not Pro Camaro. Well, the IHRA has intent to have Memphis Motorsport Park also have the stock car deal. And that's going to be cool. I mean, how long has it been since anyone has raced at that particular track in Memphis for stock car? I mean, the whole thing that Memphis is being resurrected, period, I know a lot of people are excited about. But yeah, this is going to be fun. This is going to be a lot of fun, a lot of cool stuff coming up there with that. Let me check the comments here. Drag Race Mayhem, he's got Oregon. I'm not betting against Indiana. Miami is dark horse. Look out for them. Yeah, I can see that. I can see that. I just need their offense to produce. They cannot go dormant during these type of football games with these teams, because they can move the football. And we all know if your offense, no matter how great your defense, only one defense that can be out there for 4 stinking quarters, and kind of hold the team down a little bit, and that's the Cleveland Browns defense with Myles Garrett. I don't know any other defense that can do that for 60 minutes. Big Ten supremacy. I mean, look at the records, and look at the records of the SEC teams. That's all I got to say. This is ready for the latest on IHRA. Work begin at Memphis today, with groundbreaking tomorrow. That is fantastic. I know a lot of people are excited about that. I am as well. It's going to be really cool for just drag racing in general. Drag Race Man said, but I heard Cam Newton say on First Take it hasn't ended because SEC gets higher ratings. I don't care about the ratings. Ratings. Again, I love Cam. Cam is more straightforward on 4th and 1. Yeah, you got the short end of the stick on what you were going to say on national TV. So, yeah, I'm not buying that. They did lose to Indiana earlier. I just think Indiana's playing a really physical brand of football. If they can bring what they brought last week, or at the last game, this game, I think it's going to be very tough for Oregon. That Notre Dame should have been in over Bama. Maybe. I think there's a couple other teams that you could put in that too. That I would have chosen over Bama. Over Notre Dame. The fact NASCAR is willing to work with IHRA, but NHRA wasn't, shows a lot. It really does. Like I said, I know there's been some shots taken, and you've heard me talk about that. I'm not okay with the shots that were taken at the NHRA. But, from the jump, they're the ones who kind of made this a competition. Like I said, they're acting a lot like Triple H and WWE when it comes to this thing. I really think there's room to work together. I don't know why we're still holding up this grudge and this thing between the two men that are not even here anymore. Like, are we really for the betterment of drag racing, or are we still running around here with old rusted axes to grind? He said, well, tell the manufacturers to build better cars. Yeah, I ain't gonna lie with that. I'm not gonna lie with that. He said, work started at Memphis today with groundbreaking tomorrow. I'm loving it. Mac 1320 says, with the new class in comp, the body should change up again. I just can't remember the name of the new class. Yeah, I don't remember that one either. I don't know if Dave W. is still in here. He might remember that. And Alani says, I'm happy that MMP is back in business. Yeah, I know you are. It's really cool to see all the stuff that's been transpiring. And I wish people would get off the box of worrying about where the money's coming from. Like, some of you guys barely do research on the normal stuff. So, like, just sit back, relax, and enjoy the abundance of drag racing that will be available to you. And go to a track and support it. Get out there. And if you want to race, get out there and race. I don't know if you guys saw the article on Competition Plus about Bobby Bodie, but he's going to, I'm sure we'll talk about it on the Power Hour here. There's some news about that. I'm sure we'll drop that on the Power Hour. I think you'll like it. But anyway, Bobby Bodie's going to race NHRA and IHRA. I mean, it's good business. Like, do you wanna like make money, or do you not? Because at the end of the day, you're paying more. You're losing a little bit to gain a little bit in NHRA. But IHRA, I mean, you get a boatload just to show up. So, nice size check. And guess what? I don't care what anybody says about this 8th mile racing, because half of you, again, don't do normal research and understand drag racing history. But parts attrition is going to be less. So, of course, I'm going to run over there. Why wouldn't I? You'd be a complete and utter moron if you didn't maximize your opportunities. Maximize your ability to get a nice, solid check. There he is. Lonnie said, NHRA is bringing back modified. Yep. That's the one. Drag Race Mayhem says they bought Maple Grove. I thought that was kind of strange myself. I really did. I was like, you went through all of that for it to sit dormant for a year? I mean, I'm not saying they won't do anything there, but they didn't even give them a national event. I don't know. The schedule's been kind of whack anyway. You know what I mean? You release something, then you don't release something, and, yeah. I planned on seeing if I could reach out to Brittany. Definitely will have Amanda back on the show. That was fun. That was a lot of fun. A lot of good stuff gets done there. And I saw you with your starting your lives, man. Go ahead and do it. Go ahead and do it. I encourage you to do it. Mac 1320 says, yeah, it's wild to not use Maple Grove for a national event. It just is. It's weird. But again, this is the same people who rolled out a schedule. They said that wasn't the schedule. They rolled out another schedule. And we don't even know if that's really the schedule or not. It's subject to change. So we'll see. Drag Race Mayhem says the fans who say 8th mile is superior, or the same fans who think that drivers are responsible for the car's ET and mile per hour. Most drivers will tell you 8th mile is more of a driver's race. It really is. It really is. And I thought we saw some really good racing. It really evens the playing field for guys who don't have that back half power yet. You know, a lot of the the guys can't consistently produce that back half power. So it evens the playing field. And I like that. That means closer racing. And isn't that what everybody wants? He said, IHRA schedule, we know the dates, but not the tracks. Yep. So we'll see. We'll see. It's one of those things, right? It happens. But it's still kind of funny. It's still kind of funny. So, man, what a great show today. Look, lots to look forward to in 2026. I'm really looking forward to this playoffs, college and pro this weekend. Really going to be a lot of great football being played. We'll get into a little bit of NBA. We may come back and have another show this week, kind of breaking down and getting more in depth with the games that we will see on Wild Card Weekend. We'll see if we can manage that, what we have going on here for the rest of the week. But that probably will be an early show. But yeah. A lot of good stuff going on. One last thing before we close this out. Is it kind of weird that, like, I understand this is going to be this big event for Tasca and Ford and all of that, but isn't it kind of like anticlimactic? It's like setting off a bunch of fireworks and having the grand finale of the fireworks, and then about 30 minutes later, and boom. I mean, doesn't it kind of feel that way? Like it's going to lose its punch. And most of us have a pretty idea what's going on, but it's going to kind of lose its punch a little bit, in my humble opinion. Drag Race Man says the sport is the king of halfway doing something. NHRA does something good. Things suck at most basic sports stuff. IHRA gets better on the fan side of things, but can't be out, on the schedule on ahead of time. Yeah, I mean, you're always going to have something. They just need stability over there, really. I mean, that's really what the problem is. I hope you can get to more races there, Mac 1320. I think you got something. We'll have you on the show as well a little more in 2026 as well to talk some drag racing and up and coming events. I think you got a lot of cool stuff to share, and I like how you go about your bracket. That's very creative, but I think it also it's sort of like analytics in football. So I think that's very unique. Kind of like having analytics in NHRA, and it seems to have paid off for you. You were a champion, so obviously it works. Analytics and drag racing, ladies and gentlemen. Drag Race Man says the IHRA scheduled dates conflict with Maple Grove dates. Yeah, I figured that's probably what it is, but you got to find a way. Lonnie says, want new ribs. We'll order those. Absolutely, Blake. Definitely will. Well, ladies and gentlemen, man, first show of 2026, and super excited about it. Talking sports. Getting into a rhythm with this thing coming in. We're going to bring some good people on this off-season stuff. Ladies and gentlemen, well, thank you so much for tuning in and locking into the NotBland Show, and we will see you next week.
sleeper, 4th and inches in the cold. Crowd breathing like smoke, NFL grit in my voice. When the pressure gets woke, engines scream through the night. That F1 razor lines cut clean, turn sharp like a hometown savior. NASCAR drift in my blood. When the pace get wild, I talk speed like a veteran, move calm like a smile. Legends born out of sweat, out of heartbreaks echo. I break plays down smooth, call the game like a maestro. Every lane that we touch, every story we show, this is where the truth runs. The NotBland Show. Fast lanes, fast breaks, whole crowd froze. Big drives, deep shots, watch a moment explode. Every angle hit heavy with a champion's glow. Step into the kingdom, the NotBland Show. Fast lanes, fast breaks, whole crowd froze. Big drives, deep shots, watch the moment explode. Every angle hit heavy with a champion's glow. Step into the kingdom, the NotBland Show.